Alec Lace with First Class Fatherhood here live from CPAC 2021 with Colonel Alan West, former guest on First Class Fatherhood. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time here.
It's good to be with you, Alan. Thank you.
All right, now the theme of this CPAC here is America UnCANCELED. And unfortunately, one of the things that's been canceled has been our nuclear family units in this country. Yeah. The family unit's under attack. We got a fatherless problem going on in our country here. What kind of message, what kind of advice do you have for that new family, that new dad out there that's just starting out with his brand new family?
Well, first of all, when you think about 1961, when I was born, two-parent household in the black community, it was about 77%, and today it's 24%. And you can trace that right back to the failed policies of the Great Society programs of Lyndon Johnson when they started to give checks to young women having children out of wedlock. So basically, the government replaced the father in the home in the black community. And when you look at all the problems you see in our inner cities, the gang problems, the drug problems, it traces back to not having a strong moral father, that moral authority in the house. And so what I would say to young fathers out there, be the man. Just stand up and abide, be an abiding father, as it says in the Bible, abide in me. We want to see our young men and young women have that role model they can look up to. And it's so important that you step up to the plate and take responsibility and accountability for being a father. One of the things that my daughters gave me a very nice little sign that says, anyone can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. So I would tell you, be a dad.
Well, one, just as a father myself, there's nothing better in life. There's nothing you will do that's better than being a dad. My kids, Matthew just turned 27, Alex is going to be 26 the end of this month. Nothing better. That's job number one to me, is to be a great father. So if you're a young man out there and fatherhood's on the horizon, you're in for a real treat. People always ask me, what's the best age? I said, whatever age they are. It's absolutely spectacular. But it's also really important, ideally, obviously, within a marriage, but it's important for fathers to be involved. I wrote something on Father's Day that got a lot of attention across the country. I said, America would be far greater if more fathers played a more active role in the lives of their children. And that's not just hyperbole, that's not just from a moral standpoint, although the Bible's pretty clear on that. The data shows, I used to call it the success sequence, but there's actually really significant studies that show that people who graduate from high school, get a job, and then wait until they're married and at least 21, doesn't have to be, but the data shows if it's at least 21 before they have children, those families almost universally will never live a day in poverty. 98% don't live in poverty. More than 3/4 live middle class or better lives. So it's not only a moral imperative, increasingly the data shows it's an economic one. So really important, get your education, get a job, find that person you love, and then going forward have children, and success will be on your side, and it will be the best thing you've ever done.
Don't listen to this indoctrination. Right now we have a war, and it's a spiritual war, it's a spiritual battle, it's a spiritual fight. And as we fight that fight, remember that we have to have our same truth, ground ourselves in truth, in our biblical scripture, in God, and what God ordained us all to do. And that is to be fathers. And not just to be fathers in the flesh, but also be fathers in the spirit. And no matter if the government's telling you that you don't need to have a family unit, no matter if society's telling you that you don't need to have a family unit, let's teach our kids, even if we're from broken families, let's teach our kids the importance of that family structure. And let's teach our kids what real love means. And we have to fight for each other. We got to go out, and if we know that there's other kids that don't have fathers in their homes, we got to go out there and touch them. We have to do our part to come in and help all of these young boys and girls that we have out here in our communities across America that don't have that family unit. We have enough of us with resources that we really can, if we all work together and start to think that we are one American village, and we can save this land, and we can save many of these kids that are so deserving of a mentor, so deserving of a father, and just so deserving of someone that can put them in the right direction. That's truly what we're here for, and we're all obligated. We're obligated by what God has ordained us to do, to have each other's back.
The theme of this CPAC here is America UnCANCELED. We know the cancel culture is going on. One thing that's been canceled is the nuclear family unit. We got a breakdown of the families, like you said there. There's a fatherless crisis going on in our country. What kind of advice do you have for that new dad that's out there right now just starting out with his family?
Hey, actually, you want to hear something funny? I tell all my buddies, I say, hey, look, you know what? If you want to have a healthy relationship always, and it's so hard to do this, but one of my buddies came to me last week and goes, Big Dan, what should I do? I said, get a second job and hire a full-time nanny. because that way you can enjoy every possible moment with your kids. And it's hard when you have a family of 6 and you got to go. You know, my wife can't take everybody in soccer, basketball, football, track. You know, I try to do the same exact thing. You know, and I commend all those single moms or single dads that are out there trying to take care of their kids, and it's hard. You know, it's but you know, this is, you know, having the family is so important to be able to, you know, to have your children succeed in life. And like I said, back to education too. We're both from New Jersey. My dad was a police officer. My mom was a concierge at the Hilton, middle class. My mother and father took all their retirement, all their 401k, all their savings, and sent me to an all-boys prep school, Seton Hall Prep, in New Jersey, an hour drive. But they did that because they wanted to see me succeed. And if it wasn't for that, you know, I would have never gone to a great college. I would have never went to a great law school. You know, I would have been running for United States Congress.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are things that, you know, my parents push so hard, and that's what I recommend for all the parents out there. Push hard. You know, kids are number one priority.
Well, I agree with you with the cancel culture when it comes to our school, the critical race theory that are trying to indoctrinate our kids with. And we've been successful in our towns, even in my town in South Lake, Texas, of not allowing that to happen in our schools. But what it starts at the home and educating your kids with civics. Remember the old days where we used to have to take those classes at school, but unfortunately our school systems are not teaching our kids basic civics about government, about representation, about your who your representatives are locally, your school board officials, your city council, your county commissioners, your state rep. We're very sometimes concentrated on the federal level, but let's concentrate on the local level of your local representatives who affect your neighborhood, your children, and what happens to them. So let's teach our kids as part of everything that we teach them, of having the father in the home, of the family nucleus. Let's teach them a little bit about government so they can know what's going on.
That family business, your fatherhood is your most important role in life. I've got 4,000 prisoners this morning in my jail. 80% of them are fatherless. And that is the issue. This is not rocket scientists on why we have criminality in America. We have so many children that are left out of any possible dream. And they're left out because there's no dad at home. So that fatherhood business is the most important thing that you can do, new dad.
And I will repeat what the book of Proverbs says. Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. I'll tell you, those childhood years, you cannot get back after they're gone. Invest your time in your children. Invest the time in instilling the principles that have made America great, and those are the Judeo-Christian principles upon which America was built. That will be a solid foundation upon which their lives will be built. And instill in them the concept of individual responsibility, which is a biblical concept, and integrity. Integrity, like I said before, you can lose it in a second. It takes a lifetime to develop.